Welcome into the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside my co-host, Aaron Murray. Be sure to follow us on social media at Punt and Pass on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Drew Butler. Aaron is at Aaron Murray 11. Head on over to puntandpass.com, the number one destination for all things college football. It's got our picks up there. Yeah, I went 5-0 against the spread last week. We're going to get those locks right this weekend, too. We have to get the locks back on track. We will get that going, so head on over to puntandpass.com. It's got our YouTube page up there. Man, last week's YouTube video blew up. I'm absolutely loving it. Love the comments. Love all the subscribers. Rate, review, and subscribe to our YouTube page. Head on over to puntandpass.com. It's got everything you could need. And this episode of Punt and Pass is presented by our great friends over at Prize Picks. That is right. Daily Fantasy Simplified. Use the promo code PUNT for a 100% deposit match up to $100. Download the app today wherever you download apps, or go to prizepicks.com. Use the promo code PUNT. You get a deposit match up to your first $100 of 100%. Not bad. Thursday Night Football, Matthew Stafford and those Los Angeles Rams taking on the Seattle Seahawks in a big-time NFC West matchup. The Braves back in the playoffs on Friday night. You got college football, full slate on Saturday. Of course, you can still do cross-sport entries at Prize Picks. It really is unbelievable. Man, shout out to CEO Adam Wexler, a Georgia dog. They're crushing it right now. We are so happy to have Prize Picks be a great partner of Punt and Pass, so we love the support. Our friends over at Prize Picks, get down. We will post our picks later on this weekend for sure on our social medias. Check them out at Prize Picks. Download the app. Go to prizepicks.com. Use the promo code PUNT. We'll talk about our picks later on in the show. Aaron, huge week for you. First off, man, gigantic congratulations. You got to go to Georgia's practice today. Hashtag Let Murray practice. It worked. Awesome. Worked. You are calling the game for CBS at 3:30. That's so awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited. It was good to be at practice. Unfortunately, Auburn will not let me go to practice.
Oh, really?
So, dude, I was giving Bobo so much crap because I was texting Bobo on Monday. I was like, hey, I got you guys this weekend. Would love to go to practice on Thursday. I'm going to head up to Auburn early. He's like, yeah, come on, bring it on. Love to have you, blah, blah, blah. I was like, sweet. I'll just run it through your, obviously the front office just to make sure
SIDs and all that stuff.
Go. So I, talked to my producer, and he's like, I'm going to have a call with them, and I'll check. Calls me last night at 9 o'clock, and I thought he was joking. He said, Auburn said no go.
So
like, what?
You and Noah, none of y'all can go?
None of us can go. Like, Harsin has locked down practice to any media. Like, no one's allowed at all.
I mean, do they have the nuclear codes? What the hell's going on?
You know what my issue is? And I don't know if I've said it on here or not, or just other shows I've done this week, but we're not beat writers. We're not here writing an article immediately after we go watch practice.
Yeah.
We're not typing up a tweet as we're watching practice. Like, so-and-so's practicing, so-and-so's in a red jersey, so-and-so's whatever. Like, everything we get in the coaches' calls, when we talk to players, when we go to practice, is to use in the game.
Of course.
To help
in
make
real time
your players look better.
Yes.
And the more you give us, the more good we can talk. If you don't want to give us crap, it's hard for us to promote you.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, man, like, I'm not going to go to your practice and then call Kirby up and be like, hey, by the way, this is what I saw from Auburn's practice.
Of course not.
I'm a professional here,
Yeah.
And plus, Bobo is my boy. So it kind of ticked me off a little bit, honestly, that they're not letting us at CBS practice. But at least I had to go see my dogs.
Yeah.
I got to go see the facility, which is –
I need to hear this. Yeah.
Crap. I mean, the place is – it's depressing, honestly. To know what we had and then to know what they have and to see it and to walk it. I mean, you drive by and you see the OG old, small, little Buttsmere with its little dome, and then now it's quadrupled in size. The weight room has a jumbotron. They got like 20 different hot tubs and cold tubs.
I heard they have a steam room now and a sauna. What the hell? I would have killed for that when I was in college.
Oh, I would have loved a good steam. So
that's unbelievable.
Unreal. And the players, I tell you what, the difference with the facility, the players Georgia has now compared to when you and I played, they look like an NFL roster. These guys,
and they play like it too.
Massive. They're fast. They are some good-looking athletes. I mean, they passed the eye test. I as soon as I walked in to watch practice, like, are we here to watch the Falcons?
Yeah.
Actually, the Falcons would probably take Georgia's front seven compared to what they have right now. They're that big and that fast.
No, you're totally right. Like when I was at the scrimmage earlier this year, I mean, like save Jordan Davis. I mean, obviously everybody knows how big he is, and Jalen Carter and the guys in the middle, but you're talking about guys like Adam Anderson, like Nolan Smith, even some of the DBs with their length and just they look like NFL players. You're like, oh my goodness, this is just a different ball game. Granted, we were in school a little while ago. It's not like we played 40 years ago. But you see the difference, and you're like, dude, this is insane. I'll even say it like this. I work with some high school punters and high school kickers, and, like, they are worlds better at kicking than I was when I was in high school. I'm like, what is going on? Like, it is unbelievable, the advancement in the specialization of some of these athletes, not only in college, but even going down to the high school level. Aaron, I'm sure you see it too. Like, Arch Manning, I haven't really broken down his tape, or some of these top quarterback talents. Look, you slung it around down at Plant, and you were a big-time recruit, but it's like, oh, my God, these kids are ready to go, and I'm glad Georgia is getting the good ones, that's for sure. But all the SEC schools are too.
They look like, and I was talking to a couple of guys there, I mean, and we were trying to figure out, other teams in the past that have looked like this, and I think USC back in, like, early 2000s, like, they had players like this, bigger, they were just bigger, faster, and they walked off the bus, and the other team's like, okay, game's over. We already lost. Alabama,
some of those LSU teams we played too.
Yeah, some of those teams like the 2010, Alabama 2009 through 13, like those defenses.
Yeah,
they walked off
intimidating.
The bus, like we're in trouble.
Yeah,
that's what Georgia's entire offense looks like.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
The tight ends are big, fast. The receivers, one of the most impressive guys that really stuck out to me was A.D. Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
Number 5.
Yeah.
As a true freshman, I was like, that's a good-looking kid. That is a good-looking kid. And he's obviously, getting better and better and more confidence every single week. But has done his job. But it's amazing. Even my offensive lineman that I played with, Chris Burnett and Dallas Lee, and
Ben Jones,
some of those guys,
Clint Bowling. Yeah.
But my freshman year's offensive line was huge. With Cordy, Clint, Ben.
I think Trenton Sturdivant, was he still there, or was he 3 and out, 4 and out? I forget Trent, but he was huge.
Yeah, we had a big, but then after that, it got small real fast. Like my offensive line were like all 6'2", like 2'8".
Yeah, you're right.
And they joke now with me, like, Aaron, you could not see over this offensive line they have now. It's like this, if Stetson Bennett can be making plays, I'm a good, like, 2 or 3 inches taller than Stetson, so I guarantee you I would have been making some plays too.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how times change. There's no doubt about it. And that's what winning does. Gets you those $80 million facilities. So shout out to Georgia, and shout out to all the donors as well. Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't need one. I had a bald head when I was in school, so I took care of my own business on the hair front. Crazy to me, though, that Auburn shut it down. Like, I just don't get that. To your point, there's a certain level of professionalism when you're a broadcaster, especially when you are a play-by-play and a color commentator on a TV broadcast. It's like, guys, we need the intel to make you and your team look better. We're doing our job here. Give us the opportunity to have some information to elevate the broadcast on the weekend. I just don't get that. I don't even think that should be allowed. They should not be allowed to block out TV broadcasters. You're right. You're not going to tweet about it. You're not going to call Bobo. You're not going to call Kirby. That's just not what happens. That's not what any of them do. So
no,
I'm on your side. And hashtag let Murray practice now for Auburn. Hashtag let Murray practice.
There's nothing that I would see in practice that Georgia's army of GAs and coaches haven't seen in film already. Yeah. So I'm not going to be calling Kirby and he's going to be like, oh, my God, thank you, Aaron. We're going to win the game now because you told me that. Like, these dudes work endless hours, and they have a bajillion GAs to do this work. Like, nothing I could see or do is going to change the course of a game. If I would ever do something and say something, which I wouldn't, like you said, we have a job to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, the worst is Troy Calhoun for Air Force. We can't speak to any of the coordinators. We can't speak to any of the players. Only can speak to him. And every question you ask him, he just is so
Bill Belichick.
Big picture. Like, Coach, how's your quarterback doing? Well, our team worked really hard this week. They're a bunch of great young men.
Yeah, he's like, I'm like, that's great. Thanks for the info.
I literally go in the meetings with Troy Calhoun now, and I tell, if I'm with a new play-by-play or sideline reporter, I'm like, I'm I have 2 questions and then I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, what the? It's a waste of time.
We had Amanda Balionis 2 years ago. It was her first time. I was like, Amanda, just trust me. You're not going to get anything. She goes, no, I'll get something. I was like, trust me. And she just kept digging for like 15 minutes.
It was just nothing.
Fort Knox. He won't say anything. Won't say anything.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Good stuff. I like that. I like to get kind of underneath the hood of what you're doing. 3:30 p.m. CBS, the SEC on CBS. Our guy, Aaron Murray, calling the game with Noah Eagle, an up-and-coming talent in the play-by-play world as well. You need to latch your wagon onto him, dude, because he's going places for sure.
Oh my God, I got.
Unlike this podcast where we're just low-life podcasters, that kid's going big time.
Yeah, well, he's got a magical voice. He sent me like a whole PowerPoint today on how to warm up my.
You sent it to me too.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's pretty good actually. But anyways, it's so weird because we always, us East Coasters always say 3:30. It's the 3:30 slot.
Yeah.
But I have all these Auburn and Alabama fans, texting me or tweeting me like, "Oh, we're so excited to see you on at 2:30.
It's great.
And it's just funny to me that like it's the 2:30 game. I'm like, no, it's the 3:30 game. Get it right.
Yeah, come on. What are we doing? It's the 3:30 game. Ain't no doubt. All right, let's get into some news and notes. Week 6 is ahead. That's just crazy. Halfway through the college football season. Time, slow down, please. We can't do this. We wait all year long, all offseason long for college football to come back, and then as soon as it starts, it just flies right by. Week 6 is ahead. I think, Aaron, it's time to just talk briefly. I mean, I want a couple of minutes about possible Heisman candidates. I think Matt Corral took a big dip last weekend against Alabama and how Alabama just completely shut down that Ole Miss offense. But here's a question. I know we've been talking pretty UGA heavy leading in, but it's because you're calling the game this weekend. My question is this, and this is an honest question. Could Jordan Davis enter the Heisman Trophy conversation if UGA's defense continues to be this dominant? I mean, he is the linchpin. He is the absolute playmaker. He is a guy that this defense relies upon. He makes plays. He disrupts offensive lines. He's a game changer. Could he enter the conversation, or what would it take for somebody on Georgia's defense, which is really one of the top units in all of college football, Georgia being one of the best teams in all of college football? Could somebody on that side of the ball for the Georgia Bulldogs get into the Heisman conversation?
I don't think Jordan Davis could. He's not going to throw, because the issue is he's not going to throw up a bunch of crazy stats.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a ton of tackles. He doesn't have a ton of sacks, only 1.5 on the year. Like when I think it was my junior season, there was 2 guys going defensively that had a chance to be in the Heisman conversation.
Honey Badger.
Te'o. No, this was after Honey Badger.
Oh, okay.
It was
Manti Te'o, yeah.
Manti Te'o and Jarvis Jones.
Oh, yeah,
and
Jarvis.
I honestly think if we would have been in Alabama, Jarvis probably would have been in New York.
Yep.
But those were guys, obviously, Te'o had the name recognition. He's the middle linebacker for Notre Dame. I mean, that's a big deal, and he had a ton of tackles. Jarvis had a crapload of sacks and a lot of big-time moments.
A couple of sack fumbles, a couple of touchdowns. Yeah, game-saving plays.
So,
yep.
So he was all over the place. So I think you need someone like that, someone who either has a ton of interceptions or a ton of sacks.
Yep.
And right now, Georgia really doesn't have that. I mean, the thing with Georgia's defense and what makes them so great, it's not just one player.
It's the collective effort.
Yeah, all 11 of them are on the same page every single play. They're all in the right spot. You rarely see those guys make a mistake where someone's out of their own gap. They play fundamentally sound football. And all of them are elite as elite can be, but it's just hard for one to have crazy stats and really stand out because, I mean, Jordan Davis is a phenomenal player, first-round draft pick. But so is half the roster on that side of the football. I mean, how many first-rounders do you think Georgia has? Their top 2 rounds. Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Adam Anderson, Quay Walker's a beast. Trayvon Walker's a beast.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. I mean, they have 7-8 guys that can get drafted in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft the next 2 years.
It's pretty good to use in recruiting.
It's hard to stand out when you're surrounded by a bunch of other guys that are first-round picks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Right now on the betting board, Bryce Young, Alabama, leading the way on the Heisman odds. Matt Corral right behind him. I mean, those are your usual suspects. You're going to look towards offensive players, guys that are putting up big numbers. I mean, Spencer Rattler preseason was the guy. He is way down the board. C.J. Stroud, he better start making some plays because that ain't looking good. Bijan Robinson from Texas. That'll be a big game for them. We're going to talk about the Red River Shootout here coming up. Kenny Pickett from Pitt, getting a little bit of love, too. I don't know. I mean, it could be fun to see, hopefully, some chaos if Alabama slips up.
You know who deserves some love but is not going to get it because they don't have the games is Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for him, the schedule the rest of the way, like no one's going to be watching Mandy since like he had his Heisman moments. He balled out in them, was tremendous versus Notre Dame, but it's too early in the season. I mean, there's still 7 weeks to go, and he doesn't have another opportunity to have a Heisman-like moment against a quality football team. So, they're going to be most likely undefeated or 11-1. He's going to throw up crazy stats, but obviously group of 5, not a lot of primetime games going forward. But he's someone that I think would, if they go 12-0, I would love to see Desmond Ridder as somewhere in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they go 12-0, signs point right now that they'll probably make the college football playoff, which would be huge for a group of 5 team. Of course, Cincinnati heading to the Big 12 in just a couple of years. We could have some chaos come down the pipeline, not only in the Heisman race, but seeds 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, it never, ever shakes out the way you think it does. So, of course, we'll all be waiting on pins and needles to see what happens. How about Lane Kiffin apologizing for the popcorn comment? I thought this was great. It was a grown-up moment. It shows you that Lane is extremely self-aware now. It shows you that Lane loves the position that he's in. Obviously, we talked about it on Monday when he threw the headset off and said, "Get your popcorn ready." He came out and said, "Hey, we got our ass kicked. I got caught up in the moment. It was highly emotional. The place was rocking. I was ready to go." And Coach Saban was just too good. Too good. I mean, 24-0 now against his former assistants, and they shellacked Ole Miss. But I thought that was at least a breath of fresh air from Lane Kiffin. Your thoughts, Aaron? Anything special here, or just, hey, he understood that he got his teeth kicked in, he did something stupid, he got mocked for it, and he said, "Yeah, I deserve that."
Well, I'm happy he apologized to Jamie Erdahl.
Oh, did he? I didn't see that.
Yeah,
okay,
he did.
Cool.
Because that ticked me off before the game, and I was really upset with kind of how he treated her. I know it's an emotional game, and sometimes you kind of act out of character when the juices start really boiling up. But, I mean, she's just like we talked about earlier. She's just trying to do her job. She's asking you softball questions. Softball questions just to give the audience something, and you gave her a super quick response and dropped the mic and looked seductively into the camera like you're some badass. It was so awkward.
Yeah.
I'm like, what an ass,
yeah.
man. Like, she's one of the sweetest girls in the world, and you just pretty much just crapped on her interview. I mean, I was pissed. I was. So I'm glad. I don't know if it was after the game or Monday he apologized. I think he actually sent her a message apologizing too. So I was happy he did that.
That's cool. Yeah, shout out Lane Kiffin, at least admitting your mistakes and eating that crow. And on to the next one. We will be talking about that because Ole Miss plays Arkansas this weekend.
Do you not agree, though, when he stared into the camera?
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I mean, look, I get it. That is a very, very intense moment, especially when, of course, in his gut, he thought they were going to go out there, hang 65, and beat Alabama, and that did not happen. And that looked bad just 30 minutes afterwards at halftime when you were like, what just happened? Yeah. Pretty crazy. Hey, what about the Big Ten? We're about to start picking our games here, but the Big Ten, huge game this weekend that, of course, we're going to be picking. Number 4, Penn State at number 3, Iowa. Michigan is undefeated right now. They are now in the top 10. Are they for real? Ohio State, still not gone. I think you could see a ton of chaos in the Big Ten, Aaron. If you had to pick right now, heading into Week 6, who wins? I mean, would you fade Ohio State right now? Do you think Penn State's going to beat Iowa? I mean, what's going to happen here? I think we got some interesting storylines to unpack out of the Big Ten.
I think right now Ohio State's finding their rhythm a little bit with C.J. Stroud, and they're really getting going. I mean, the game versus Oregon was not great. I mean, you're at home, you got pushed around, your defense looked terrible. But I did think in that football game, C.J. Stroud took a major step forward, and he's kind of been on a roll since then, and so has this football team. So right now, I have more confidence in Ohio State to pull through in the Big Ten. I do like Iowa. Obviously, we'll talk about that game and break it down here in a little bit. I like Iowa. Michigan, you can't be confident in Michigan. They're going to screw up a few times along the way. There's no doubt about it. It's in their nature.
Yeah.
It's in Jim Harbaugh's nature.
Agree.
It's going to happen. So no faith in Michigan. But like I said, if I had to put some money down, I think Ohio State is going to be the Big Ten champs at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Tough to fade Ohio State. I'm really interested to see what happens with this Penn State-Iowa game this weekend. I like both of those defenses. It could be a very low-scoring affair, but it could show you really who's the class of the Big Ten through the mid-season point, and then who will probably have to upset Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, or if Penn State can somehow get past them. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Let's get active on Prize Picks this weekend, man. I am still extremely cold on Prize Picks. I need some winners, big time. I need some winners. Head on over to prizepicks.com, download the Prize Picks app, use the promo code PUNT, P-U-N-T, PUNT, and you get a 100% deposit match up to your first $100. We love our friends over at Prize Picks. We have some great games coming up this weekend, Aaron. Oklahoma, Texas in the Red River Shootout. Arkansas, Ole Miss right at you at noon on ESPN. Penn State, Iowa. Look to some unders in that game as well. And, of course, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, Texas A&M. So let's go straight to it. I want to start with the Red River Shootout. Casey Thompson, Texas's quarterback. Right now at Prize Picks, 210.5 passing yards. Look, when he gets hot, they get going. Bijan Robinson, obviously, Texas is finding their run game groove. Spencer Rattler on the other side, 259.5 passing yards. This game is always pretty weird and funky, and you don't really know what to expect. I think you're going to get a lot of points here. The total is 63.5, so play that into some of your Prize Picks projections here. I would go over Casey Thompson, 210.5 passing yards.
I would say the same thing. I think over 210 is going to be smart. It's not a lot, and these teams, I know there is a belief that Oklahoma's defense is a little bit better this year, which they are, but I think with this offense right now, with Sark, the importance of this football game, this is when the big boys step up. I like Casey Thompson. I like the way he's played so far this season. Early game, defense is kind of a little bit sluggish, still asleep, missed tackles left and right. I take the over with him as well.
What about Spencer Rattler? 259.5 passing yards. I mean, that Oklahoma offense has looked rather pedestrian compared to what we're used to in the past.
Yeah, but Texas's defense is they can push them around. I think Spencer's going to have a lot of time in the pocket. He's going to have an opportunity to go out there and sit in there and make some plays down the field. So I'd go over him too.
Wow.
This is a big Heisman moment for him.
I know, it really is.
This is his opportunity to silence the critics, all the fans booing him on the backup, and his moment to get back into this Heisman discussion legitimately. Because right now he's, people still have him fourth, fifth. I know you talked about where he is when it comes to betting odds. But if he has a big game, this game, and balls out and they win, he jumps to number 2 all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because there's no one else really. If Texas loses, Robinson most likely drops. Matt Corral had his opportunity last week, and Ole Miss kind of crapped the bed and didn't do anything on the offensive side. So there's really no one besides Bryce Young right now. So if he has a big-time moment in this game and they win, Spencer Rattler's number 2 all of a sudden.
Yeah. You talked about Bijan Robinson. 119.5 rushing yards. That is a ton for a projection. I'll go under right now. It's going to be pretty physical. I don't see him going off for 120+. Do you?
No. Definitely under on that one. God, that's a lot.
I know, that's a lot. I'm surprised it's that much. I mean, that's very, very interesting. And then, who knows, man? That could be a good one to get down on, especially early in the day. Get it going right on Prize Picks. I think that's it. We said Casey Thompson over 210.5 passing yards. Spencer Rattler over 259.5 passing yards. Heisman moment for Spencer Rattler on deck. And then under Bijan Robinson, 119.5 rushing yards. I think that's a good little play right there. I think that's the way you do a little 3-pick power play. Try to see what happens when it comes to Prize Picks this weekend. What about in the SEC? I think I want your thoughts on Matt Corral and KJ Jefferson, okay? And then we'll wrap this up and head to our games. KJ Jefferson got shellacked a week ago against Georgia, going up against Ole Miss. Of course, Ole Miss's defense a little bit improved from last year. They got shown the door from Alabama last week, but we'll let that go. KJ Jefferson, 187.5 passing yards. Matt Corral, 314.5 passing yards.
I'm going to go under for both of them.
Really?
Just because of the style of defenses. I mean, you saw what Alabama did last week. They ran the football. They both defense both want to run that 3-2-6, that 3-3-5. There's not a lot of passing lanes, and there's a big opening to run the football. I would like to see obviously what KJ Jefferson's run stats are for this game. I think I would take more I would lean more over for him running if that was an option than passing. The same thing with Matt Corral. I mean, Ole Miss, this is still a run-first offense that needs to get going. If you're going to want to play that 3-2-6, 3-3-5 defense, it makes it really tough to throw the ball. So I'm if there was a lock of the week for Prize Picks, I think
Ooh.
Matt Corral under 314. I just, what this defense did to him last year, and what this defense is vulnerable at is what Ole Miss needs to do to win.
Yeah, I hear you. Aaron says under KJ Jefferson 187.5 passing yards, and under lock of the week Matt Corral 314.5 passing yards. Get down on Prize Picks, couple of 12 o'clock p.m. picks right there for you. Start your Week 6 Saturday off right. Casey Thompson over 210.
Brock Bowers over 3.5. Over 3.5.
Over 3.5 receptions.
I like that one.
Adding that to the board, Brock Bowers over 3.5 receptions. Awesome.
Auburn not very good slowing down tight ends.
Yeah, that has been
a lot of receptions to tight ends this year.
That has been proven. So the board this weekend, prizepicks.com, use the promo code PUNT. Casey Thompson over 210.5 passing yards. Spencer Rattler over 259.5 passing yards. Bijan Robinson, Texas running back, under 119.5 rushing yards. KJ Jefferson under 187.5 passing yards. Matt Corral, Ole Miss quarterback, lock of the week, under 314.5 passing yards. And Brock Bowers, Georgia tight end, over 3.5 receptions. Prizepicks.com. Let's do punt, pass, and pick. Dive into this slate this weekend. Murray, I had a whale of a weekend a week ago, 5-0 against the spread. Of course, I lost my lock. That's becoming the theme here. You went 3-2. You lost your lock as well. We're each going to win our lock this week, and I can promise you that.
Our overall records are pretty darn good.
They are pretty good. I'm 16-9 against the spread. You're 14-11 against the spread. Extremely respectable.
Over 500, man.
Our locks are 1-4. We need to fix that ASAP. So let's start with the Red River Shootout, Aaron. Number 6, Oklahoma, taking on number 21, Texas. This game is always played in Dallas, Texas, at the Cotton Bowl, the Texas State Fair. 12 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Oklahoma, a 3.5-point neutral favorite. Total, 63.5. Look, Oklahoma only has a 3.5-point favorite on a neutral field. Tells you what. Vegas thinks these two teams are pretty evenly matched. This is Steve Sarkisian's first tilt in the Red River Shootout. This Texas offense is finding their form. Casey Thompson playing at a high level. Love the run game with Bijan Robinson. I cannot buy Oklahoma. Cannot buy him. Way too inconsistent. They have not proven it in a big moment. They've only covered one game this year, Aaron. And Texas, on the flip side, has covered all but one. Of course, when they lost to Arkansas with your lock of the 2021 century that fell flat on its face, and I had to fade you in that moment. Sorry to bring that up. I like Texas here. Give me the points, plus 3.5. I think this is a statement game for Steve Sarkisian. I love the momentum that Texas is playing with. Simply put, I can't buy into Oklahoma.
I can't buy into Texas just yet. I mean, you go back to that Arkansas game, and they got absolutely whooped on both lines of the scrimmage. And it's hard to change your identity as a physical or not physical football team midway through the season. They're just not. They're not a physical team right now.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma's a little bit more physical on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Like I said earlier with Spencer Rattler, I think this is his moment to really shine. I think he steps up and has a big Heisman-like game against this so-so defense for Texas. So I'm going to take Oklahoma in this one. I think they win by about a touchdown.
All right. Good pick. That'll be a good game. Definitely going to be flipping between that game and our next game, which is an SEC West matchup. Number 13, Arkansas, coming off a rough weekend against Georgia, is heading to Oxford to take on number 17, Ole Miss. This game's at noon on ESPN. Ole Miss, only a 5-point favorite. That really surprised me. The total here is 66.5 points. Your thoughts here, Aaron? Is Arkansas going to let Georgia beat them 2 weeks in a row?
Well, is Arkansas going to, or excuse me, is Ole Miss going to let Alabama beat them 2 weeks in a row too? I mean, it's both ways for both these. I mean, this is a big moment for both these squads for the rest of their season. I mean, how do you come back from losing against the top two teams in the country? So I like Arkansas in this one to make this a little bit closer.
Wow.
I like their defense. I think they're going to be able to frustrate Matt Corral. Ole Miss is going to have to run the football. Are they patient enough to just run it? We're going to find out because Lane Kiffin's pissed off about what happened last week. So maybe he comes out trying to be Mr. Superman and guns blazing and throwing the ball vertically down the field. But I like Arkansas's ability to run the football. I like Arkansas's ability to play defense. As I always say, defense and running always travel well. Give me Arkansas on this one.
Yes.
With the points.
He wants the points. He loves Arkansas +5. I'm on the other side here. I like Ole Miss. I'll lay the points. You see what Ole Miss is able to do against pretty much every team except Alabama, I don't know if Arkansas has the dudes to keep up with Ole Miss's offensive game plan. I'll be really interested to what you just said. If Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss come out just throwing the ball all over the field, 5 wide, playing basketball out there, if they try to get physical in between the tackles, move the chains a little bit, and get into a groove. But simply put, Ole Miss wins by more than a touchdown in this game. I really do believe that. Arkansas is still relatively young. I like Ole Miss in this spot. More so, I like Matt Corral more than KJ Jefferson.
Matt Corral last year versus Arkansas, you remember what happened?
I do not. What happened?
He threw 6 interceptions.
Oh, that was last year? I thought that was 2 years ago.
No, that was last year. I'm telling you, this Arkansas defense is not very friendly to what Lane Kiffin wants to do offensively.
Okay. I still think they'll win by a touchdown. I'll lay the 5.
Just making sure you know the stats.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Hey, you're a good friend. I appreciate that. Number 4, Penn State, heading to Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City to take on number 3, Iowa. This game's at 4 p.m. on Fox. Iowa, a 1.5-point home favorite. The total, 41 points. So Vegas is not expecting this one to be a shootout by any means necessary. Huge game. 2 really solid defenses. A lot of experience on both sides of the ball. Iowa, number 1 in the nation in takeaways right now. They had 6 or 7 turnovers against Maryland, and Tulia turned the ball over last weekend. I think I have to lean with the home team here. Weird stuff happens in this series, especially when they play at Kinnick. It usually comes down to a field goal. It's usually a pretty emotional matchup. I just have to go with the Hawks here. This is an emotional play for me. One of my close friends, one of my best friends, Tommy Donatel, is now a secondary coach for the Los Angeles Chargers. #bolt up. They look really good right now in the AFC West. He played football at Iowa. Iowa City's a really fun town. I've had a lot of fun in that town. I'm getting way off topic, but my point here is I'll lay the 1.5. I'm going with Iowa at home. Big moment for Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes. Big moment.
Yeah, this is a big moment for both these teams. I mean, Penn State, after the way they started last year, rocky start, finish the year off strong, but then start this year off 5-0. I mean, they're feeling pretty good there. I mean, there's 2 quality football teams. I mean, really good football teams. This is going to be an incredible football game to watch.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Penn State and the fact they haven't played an away game since the first game of the season versus Wisconsin.
It's like every week is a whiteout. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah,
I mean, let's get these guys on the road.
Since these guys have been on the road, and we saw last week the damage a crazy away or crazy home field advantage can do, or crazy fans at the home field can do for their team, and the amount of frustration that causes opposing offenses, especially. So it's going to be raucous, it's going to be loud, it's going to be tough for Penn State's offense. You mix that in with one of the best defenses in the country with Iowa at home. Give me the Hawkeyes. I think they win this game. It's going to be a great one, though. I mean, 4 quarters of defensive struggle. But good play on offense. I like both offenses. You know, they're decent. It's just I think the defense is shining this one. Hawkeyes win a close one.
No doubt. That game is at 4 p.m. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, the only way you're allowed to watch that game is either A, on your phone, or B, if you have a second TV, because we're not changing the dial when our boy Aaron Murray is calling the 3:30 p.m. SEC on CBS game, Georgia at Auburn. Before we get to that one, Aaron, unfortunately, you can't pick that game because you're calling it, so you need to give me your own custom 5th pick this week. But we'll go to the night game, the one you're leading into, number 1 Alabama heading out to College Station to take on the Texas A&M Aggies, 8 p.m. CBS. Alabama, a 17.5-point favorite. Man, who would have thought that at the beginning of the season or even before the season started? The total is 51.5. A&M does not have the firepower to keep up with Alabama. Their offensive line is atrocious. Zach Calzada cannot find it. Poor Isaiah Spiller. I mean, he's a great talent, but he's got nowhere to run. No. And I think Bryce Young and this offense, Alabama that being, are just going to continue to go wild. Not much to think about here. Don't think, just throw. Alabama minus 17.5. Lay it. And most importantly, lay whatever the first half spread is. I think they've covered the last 14 first half spreads against an FBS opponent that fits into this model. I'll lay the 17.5.
And I'm going with Bama on the lock of the week, too, for your boy over here.
Oh, nice.
I think, you know, the whole talk this offseason was, and you know, I think I was definitely guilty of this as well, was A&M is going to contend with Alabama. A&M's right there. They've recruited so well. You know, this is the year that Jimbo takes down Saban, yada, yada, yada. And obviously we've seen enough of A&M in this offense to know that there's no chance. And I think Nick Saban is going to let the state of Texas know who daddy is this weekend. I I mean, I think he's going to make a statement. I really do. I think it is the pedal is down, and it's going to be a slaughter.
So, I like that. Lock of the week.
They're a way better team, and I think that there is a message to be sent. Like, you think you're close, you ain't close.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, and it becomes very apparent in those moments where it's high-level atmosphere, a lot going on. Alabama comes in and says, let's remind you of one thing and one thing only. You will not be beating Alabama today. All right, night game.
Plus Bryce Young on the road.
Yeah.
It doesn't faze him. We saw it. He went to Florida and played great. I mean, road environments to him is for a young kid, he's cool as a cucumber. So I'm not worried about him going into Texas A&M. If he can go to the Swamp, play the way he did versus Florida, he can go to Texas A&M and play just fine.
Love it. Both on Alabama minus 17.5. Aaron, before I pick the Georgia-Auburn game, love to get your thoughts here. You're obviously working it this weekend. You can break it down better than anybody because you have been to Georgia's practice. You were supposed to go to Auburn's practice. You got shown the cold shoulder in that regard. But first off, just a huge congratulations because that's just awesome. We're all going to love watching. It's your first time calling a Georgia game, which I think is just fantastic. So hat tip to you, my man. Your thoughts on the game. Georgia coming in with just an absolutely intimidating and ferocious defense. Auburn, highly inconsistent off a massive win, the first time they've won at Tiger Stadium since 1999. Up and down season so far for War Eagle. Georgia on a warpath to get to the SEC championship and hopefully take on Alabama or somebody else. You'd expect Alabama. Your thoughts here, buddy? I think it's going to be a good game.
I do. I think it's going to be a great game. And as you see, the spread is a little bit closer than what the Georgia-Arkansas game was last week. And obviously a lot has to do with the fact this game is in Auburn.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. They had a very emotional week last week, beating LSU. First time in 22 years that's happened in Baton Rouge. So they're pumped. They're excited. Their quarterback's playing with a lot more confidence now, hopefully. So I do. I think this is going to be – I think it's going to be very similar to Georgia-Clemson, but a little bit more scoring. Like, I could see this game being like 20-7, 20-10, 20-13, something like that. I like both defenses. You know how much I love Georgia's defense. I think Auburn has a top 4 defense in the SEC as well, top 4, top 5. They're good at all levels. They're extremely well coached, as we know. I mean, this is one of the better coaching staffs in the SEC. Harsin did a great job of making sure he brought in Bobo, brought in Derek Mason.
Yeah.
So the only issue I have with Auburn is the skill players. It's not Bo Nix, because I think Bo Nix has played fine this year. It's can their receivers get the job done? Can the offensive line get Tank Bigsby going? I mean, Tank has been non-existent in 2 weeks since they played Penn State. So their offense is just in a bad place right now, and that's not what you want playing Georgia. And I just think Georgia, too, there's too many questions. I mean, who's the quarterback?
Yeah.
Is JT playing? Is Stetson playing? Can they get the run game going? Can they get the receivers going? It's just, to me, neither offense are where they need to be, going against two very good defenses. And Georgia having the edge off Georgia having the better offense, but playing in a hostile environment kind of evens things up. So, in all, I think it's going to be an awesome football game. I can't wait to call it, but I can't pick the spread. So that's all I'll give you right now. You make your decision.
I'll make my decision, and my decision is this: Georgia's going to beat the brakes off Auburn. Highly emotional game for Auburn a week ago. Late night, 9 p.m. kick against LSU. Bo Nix with the heroics, feeling good about themselves. They have not faced a defense like Georgia. I think Georgia can expose Bo Nix's playmaking want-to ability, extending the chains, extending the play. I think Georgia rolls here. I don't care who plays quarterback. Put me at quarterback. Put you at quarterback. They're trying to get their run game going, as they proved a week ago against Arkansas. Here's the thing. Georgia covers 15.5. Georgia continues to assert dominance. I guarantee you that coaching staff is telling them, hey, guess what happened a couple years ago? Granted, nobody was on the team that's on the team now, but guess what happened a couple years ago when we thought we were it? We thought we were going to go to the national championship, and we went to Auburn. They got the brakes beat off of them. Coaching staffs remember that. I certainly think Georgia players will be reminded of that. This is a spot right here for Georgia to continue the narrative of we are the best. And this is what I want, okay? I want when Georgia's up by 25, 30 points in the fourth quarter and the broadcast is getting really slow, I want Aaron Murray to go on air and say, yeah, these guys that are in the game for Auburn, I wish I could have gotten a good look at him at practice this week, but I wasn't allowed. So that's about all I have. I'd love for you to say that. Throw a little shade, Aaron Murray. We can do that.
I know. The only issue is if I throw shade, I actually may have Auburn the next week as well. So
you can't burn bridges. I know. I'm a bad influence.
If they let me know before the snap that, hey, you guys are going to be on the LSU Florida call, then your boy will definitely take some shit. But if it's, hey, we still haven't made a decision yet, if it's that game or the Auburn, I think it's Auburn-Arkansas game, I may have to hold off on it. But I will give you my
fifth pick,
please, of the week, and I'm going to go to another SEC game. LSU going to Kentucky.
Tell me you're going LSU. Tell me you're going LSU. Stingley's
terrible
out.
News today. Stingley is out.
Yep,
and definitely with a foot surgery. I'm going with a hot hand here.
Kentucky.
I'm going with Kentucky,
and they're laying 3.5.
Oh,
are they laying 3.5?
They are laying 3.5. Yeah, I'm so torn on this one, but LSU, man. No faith in that squad right now. They are playing bad football.
He likes Kentucky, ladies and gentlemen. 5-0 Kentucky. Kentucky playing Georgia next week.
Plus, I want some undefeated teams the next week in Athens.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. All right, Murray's fifth pick, Kentucky, -3.5, hosting LSU. My flip the field special. I'm not seeing the board clearly when it comes to the flip the field special. I'm searching too hard. I don't have a lot of confidence. Fade as you please. I am going to stay the course. I like Virginia Tech at home. 7:30 p.m. game, welcoming in Notre Dame. Right now, getting a point. I love a home dog. I love a primetime home dog.
Notre Dame's trash.
Notre Dame is trash. Give me Virginia Tech +1 right now. That line might go up. You might be able to get 2 or 1.5. Take the Hokies at home. Enter Sandman. Notre Dame loses 2 in a row. I'm telling you that right now. That's my flip the field special. Virginia
Notre Dame
Tech
should be losing 3 in a row. But I like that. That's a good one.
All right.
That is a great pick, Drew.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, man, we're fired up for you. Fired up for you. Yeah, we need our locks. Anything on the way out, my man?
No, man, it's going to be a fun weekend. I mean, shoot, it's like go, go, go. I'm actually speaking to the Auburn golf team tomorrow.
Sweet.
Give them a little, pump-up speech before whatever their season is. CBS is taking us to dinner, Friday night meetings, and actually the AD, at least someone's nice in Auburn. The AD of Auburn is inviting us over to their house for a nice little soiree dinner on the lawn. So
wow. Wonder how many $20 handshakes you'll get out of that soiree at the AD's house at Auburn. But
and I'm debating if I want to go explore the town or not and get how many, FUs and boos and middle fingers.
You should. Hey, the Icon Source team will be down there. So we got security detail waiting for you. You're more than welcome on our tour bus. We're going to have the Icon Source tour bus in town.
Someone told me about like this lemonade. I need to go to Tumor's Corner and get some lemonade.
Dude, you need to go to the local bar and get a cold beer. Come on, CC. What are you talking about, man?
I don't know. Maybe
what are you talking about?
Shit in Tumor's Corner, like this special.
CC lemonade. Never even invites me on the show anymore, dude. What's up with that? I'm being blackballed by the SEC network. Come on. I'm being blackballed by SEC radio. I don't get invited anymore. Did I say something wrong? Did I offend somebody? What happened?
I don't know. I'll get you on next week.
My feelings are hurt. I like to have fun.
You said something one time that CC was like, Drew's never coming back on.
You know what it was about? CC asked me who would I vote for if I had a Heisman vote, and I said Sarah Fuller, the Vanderbilt kicker.
Oh, yeah.
He got mad. He got mad at that. That was funny. That was too funny. CC's a great guy. I want to be back on. Come on, man. My feelings are hurt. Next week, indeed. All right, that's it. Week 6 in the books. Head on over to prizepicks.com, our presenting sponsor. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code PUNT. 100% deposit match up to your first $100. We love Prize Picks. We'll post our picks on social media later on this week. Head on over to our social media at Punt and Pass, at Drew Butler, at Aaron Murray 11, puntandpass.com. For Aaron, I'm Drew. We'll talk to you on Monday. See ya.